Hi everyone, this is Sarah Dodson, and we're here and we're so excited for this talk session. We've got Courtney here. We also want to introduce you to a couple people. Obviously, Linda's on the call.
Hi guys.
And we also have James Pang on the call, and he is the Duck Career Network Director for the UO Alumni Association, and he's going to be presenting with us today as well.
Hi, everybody.
So just a couple of things. Remember to share your resume. Sorry, we're switching screens. All right. Remember to send them your way to your assigned advisor if you want to look at that as soon as possible. Also, here's some useful directions if you aren't using Paul right now. We'll get into that. Q&A available just like we have past sessions. So send in questions as you have them, and we will get back to them at the end of each section. So James and Sarah can both respond to questions. Yay!
Okay, so one thing about the professionals that we're going to connect you with is that we really want to ensure that you have watched the video before we connect you, because we also want to make sure that you really do want to be connected, because it can be a little awkward if we introduce you and then you don't respond back to them and set up a time to talk. So Linda and I have made some connections, and they're ready and waiting. What we would like you to do is to, in the Q&A, say that you're here today watching, and then also say that you're that you want to be connected by a professional and that you will follow up with them. So we're going to teach you today how to do all that through the networking session today, but it's really important that you are opted in and ready to go. So then we'll send the emails. And if you aren't watching it right now between 12 and 1, then we're going to put in a LinkedIn discussion up on LinkedIn group. And please tell us your biggest takeaway from the presentation. And then also don't copy anyone else's biggest takeaway, and then we'll introduce you to your professional after that. So let's get started with our presentation. Give me a moment to get my bearings here and to start this presentation. Let's see. So we're going to go to this. Okay, so what do you all see? Do you see my presentation? Yes, okay, awesome. Okay, so networking is one of my favorite topics, and I love to break this down for students and recent alums and kind of take a bunch of myths out of it, because it can be a little scary. So first of all, I want to just say that a simple hello could lead to a million things. And we have so many stories within the Career Center, within career professionals, of just how someone connected and then their path was completely changed by that. So just keep that in mind as we're going along. So first, we want to debunk some networking myths. When you think about a good networker, what do you think of? You maybe think of some stereotypes that have to do with networking. You might think of a person that is extremely extroverted and outgoing. They might talk about themselves a lot. Maybe they're smooth or sly, or maybe even sales-like and not in a good way. They might come across as inauthentic. And we're here to break down that stereotype of networking and express that everyone can be good networkers in a way that feels authentic and normal to them. Okay, so ready to break down some myths. Myth number 1, networking is all about making as many contacts as possible. And we're actually here to say that it's really about developing genuine relationships that last over time with people, that you can help each other out over time. And let's think about quality over quantity. Okay, so myth number 2, networking is about who you know. And for those of you who don't know, those are Rolodexes. That's what we used beforehand. Not me, because I'm a millennial, but that's what they used beforehand. And oh my gosh. So it's not about necessarily who you know. It's actually about who knows you. It's about building rapport with people so that they know and trust you. A parent contact of mine always says, people want to hire who they know, like, and trust. Networking is about becoming that person that they know, like, and trust, and we'll show you how. Okay, myth number 3. It's all about you. Back to that stereotype of the person that just talks about themselves. It's not about selling yourself like sometimes we think. It's no fun to listen to someone that talks on and on and on about themselves. It's kind of annoying, actually. So in reality, it's all about them. Look at that cute baby stormtrooper. So there's a great quote that I love by Dale Carnegie, and he says, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." And I think that this is at the heart of networking. You need to ask great questions of other people, show a genuine curiosity, listen to them. Networking is, a majority of it is listening, asking good questions and then listening to their responses. And it makes people feel good and flattered to have someone listen to them and take true curiosity in their work. Okay, so we're going to talk about why networking. Why should you network? Networking is one of the best ways to access the hidden job market without actually asking for a job or an internship. Okay, so then that might lead to the next question. What is the hidden job market? So 80% of jobs are never posted. Think about that for a second. 80% of jobs are never posted. They're actually earned through networking and experiential learning. So an internship turning into a job, or that kind of experiential learning, and networking as well. So think about, that means the job postings that you're looking at out there are only 20% of the jobs that are actually available. And that's why last week in Linda's presentation, she talked about how really applying to job posting should be a small percentage of your job search process, because only 20% of the jobs are actually out there posted. Okay, so let's talk about, in general, how this whole networking thing works. And I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, so hypothetically, you connect with Jamie, maybe through a networking event, maybe through us, through a contact of yours. You meet with Jamie, you ask him meaningful questions in an informational interview, which we're going to cover. You deliver a purposeful message about yourself, or your 30-second spot, or your introduction speech, whatever you call it, and you connect both of your interests. Over time, you cultivate a relationship with Jamie. You follow up with thank you message and share a couple articles pertaining to your discussion. You connect on LinkedIn. Maybe you meet for coffee when you're in Jamie's city. Then let's picture 6 months goes by, and Jamie has lunch with a former coworker, Terry, who's never met you. And Terry mentions to Jamie, hey, you know, someone from my office quit and we're trying to find a really good person. Do you know of anyone? And Jamie says, I know the perfect person who's graduating, and I just talked to them. I'll get you connected. So Jamie connects you and Terry, and you are then connected to that perfect opportunity for you. That perfect opportunity was in the hidden job market. It was never going to be posted. So think about that as, and we hear real stories like this all the time of how people get connected to opportunities that are really great for them. Okay, so now I want to talk about your network. And whether you believe it or not, you have a network. Yes, you have one. They're your friends, they're your family, faculty and staff, former employers, UO alumni. So I want you to take a second, we're going to pause for a second. I want you to brainstorm at least 5 people who are part of your network already. And then I want you to start thinking about what might be missing. What kind of industries are missing, maybe locations are missing, and what kind of networking contacts you want to start making. So I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, and I know that might not be enough time, but you can continue thinking about this as we go. So now that you've thought a little bit about your network, then let's bring this back to you. And we want to talk about introducing yourself. Because yes, it is, even though it's all about them, as I said earlier, they still need to know stuff about you if you want them to truly know who you are. And if you're connecting with someone and they're networking correctly as well, they're going to ask you questions as well. So it's really important to have a 30-second spot or an introduction speech or an elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, prepared. It's a great tool to promote yourself and prepare for in-person interactions with professionals you're hoping to connect with. Think of networking events, career fairs, informational interviews. An introduction speech or an elevator pitch is a concise, strategic, and practiced description about yourself that communicates crucial things you want professionals to know about you in a short amount of time. So it got the name elevator pitch because of, think about the time that you're just in an elevator with someone and you want to talk to them really quick. They might be someone that's really important, and you only have about 30 seconds to make a good impression on them. So, for example, my introduction speech when I was a recent graduate would have been, my name is Sarah, and I'm a recent graduate from U of O with a degree in journalism electronic media. I'm passionate about using video to tell stories, and I recently finished an internship at Chambers Media, and it completely affirmed my love for video production as a future career. How about you? And so the basic model of a introduction speech or an elevator pitch, which I have a worksheet that I'll send to you, and we'll put it in the folder for you, is first of all, know your goal. So is your goal to introduce yourself? Is it to show that you're qualified for a job? And your introduction speech can change a little bit over time. So know your goal. Then you're going to want to reflect on your skills, your strengths, and the experiences that gave you those skills and talk about those. And then you want to ask a question at the end. And of course, you want to include all the basic information like major, year in school, or that you're a recent graduate. But you don't want to just leave it with that, because the idea of introducing yourself with more than the basics is to intrigue the other person so they can respond and you're giving them a little bit of a lifeline to respond to you with a quality question back. And then overall, the biggest thing is just practice. Practice introducing yourself in person, practice in your mirror, practice with your friends, and also make subtle changes throughout. An introduction speech is not meant to be blurted out. It's meant to kind of act as a way to introduce yourself when someone says, tell me about yourself, and you can say more than just the basics so you don't stammer over your words. I'll tell you a quick story about a time I was caught without an introduction speech, and it was kind of embarrassing. I used to work for the marching band when a couple years ago, and I was at an away game, and I was standing with the director of the marching band, and the president of the university came up and introduced himself to the director. And then he turned to me, and I shook his hand, and instead of saying anything about myself, I just said, hi, I'm Sarah. Because I was so flustered, and I didn't say anything else. I could have said so many other things, and instead I just said, hi, I'm Sarah, like as if I was Cher or something. So it's important to practice and be prepared, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what kind of information you can spark if you just share a little bit about yourself. Okay, so I'm now going to skip a little bit ahead and talk to you about informational interviews. And the reason I really want you to understand the importance of informational interviews and how to do them before we jump into how to get them. So informational interviews are one of the best tools, and it's one of the best ways to engage professionals as you're in the job search process and gain information and gain access to the hidden job market. So it's simply a conversation with a network contact. You lead the interview. You're doing the information gathering, and you talk to someone who holds a job you would like to learn more about. You ask meaningful questions to explore career fields of interest, and informational interviews can be on the phone, they can be over Skype, they could be a meeting in person for coffee. You hear all the time, let's grab coffee. That's an informational interview when you're just wanting to kind of pick someone's brain, or maybe drinks, or it could be a formal meeting in someone's office as well. So again, they are one of the best tools for networking because they have two main purposes. Number one, you want to build rapport with someone. You want someone to know who you are and what you stand for, and that you're also knowledgeable about their industry. And you actually do that through asking questions more than you do about talking. And secondly, you're going to want to gain usable information. And that usable information you can use when you're applying for jobs. You have an actual interview. We'll talk about that more. And what I do want to stress is that an informational interview is never a job ask. People would not do them and would not accept to talk with someone if they knew they were just going to come and ask for a job. It's implied. People know that you're in the job search process, but you never directly ask for a job. So before telling you how to do an excellent informational interview, I want to tell you a quick story about one that might not go so well. So let's say John is a recent graduate. He sets up a coffee meeting with an alum, Diane, that he met on LinkedIn. So she works at the organization that he's desperately trying to work at. They start out their meeting with some small talk, and then he starts in with his question. His first question is, how do I get a job with your employer? That's totally wrong, right? Put yourself in her shoes. She doesn't know him. She doesn't know his skill level. He hasn't taken the time to get to know her. So why would she take the time to help him? He is basically a stranger to her. So the big question is, how do you turn someone you just met that is a stranger to you into an advocate for you and an advocate for your career and more of a mentor role? So to help you do an excellent informational interview, my favorite method is the TIARA method. So it's pretty easy to remember because it's kind of funny. So to help you do this, this framework was developed by Steve Dalton and is detailed in his book, The 2-Hour Job Search, which I love his book. This is his model for maximizing the likelihood of building rapport and gaining usable information in an informational interview. So this model guides you through how to take a stranger and turn them into an advocate. And you do that by treating them like an expert. And over the course of the informational interview, you frame them as a mentor. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly go through these. Small talk. Number one is the small talk. This is the time to start building rapport with the person. He suggests some 3 basic small talk questions. And so say you're actually meeting with them in person. How's your day going so far? What projects are you working on right now? Can you tell me about your background and how you came to work for your employers? These are essentially all tell me about yourself, kind of getting to know you questions. And that's how you can start out an informational interview. And they'll most likely ask you, well, tell me about yourself. And that's when your introduction speech or your 30-second spot comes in. This whole part the small talk part should only take about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so then now we're going to jump into the TIARA part, and that's kind of your Q&A. So you're going to have questions prepared ahead of time, and we'll go over a little bit of how you want to do that. So the first thing you want to ask about are trends. A good question is, what trends are most impacting your business right now? And it's a great way to open the interview, and it allows them to feel smart. And you can also show some knowledge by stating, in my research, I've learned that trend X is affecting the businesses in this field. Are you seeing a similar trend? So it's helping you build more rapport, and it's elevating them as an expert. The second thing you want to do is an insight. So what is the best lessons you've learned on the job? Insights are slightly more personal about their feelings and about their work. So I'll have some list of questions provided for you, and you can see what we're talking about. Advice, if you were me, what would you be doing right now to maximize your chance of breaking into this industry? This is the time when you try to reframe the contact into a mentor rather than an expert and ask questions that require them to put themselves in your shoes. So you're basically asking questions that makes them feel empathetic towards and think back to, oh, when I was first starting out or when I was in college. Those kinds of questions that get them to really empathize with your situation. And then we get to resources. So a good example of a question is, what resources would you recommend for someone in my situation? So Dalton in his book describes that this is a pivotal question for 2 reasons. This resource question. He says that this is all advice that you can take and use and adapt to what feels authentic to you. So with that question, what resources would you recommend for someone in my situation? It's a pivotal question because what you mean by resources is purposefully vague, and it gives them an opportunity to offer you help in the way they want to. So at this point, they might jump in and offer you resources that might actually be human resources. I'm using air quotes. It might be actually potentially connecting you with hiring capacity, someone with hiring capacity, or someone that is in a better position to help you out. But you could also mean resources such as non-human resources. So if they do ask you to clarify, then you can ask about non-human resources such as websites, blogs, news sources, professional associations they belong to, resources in that nature. So again, this is for you if you want to do this, that you can ask it a little vague, and that allows them the opportunity to offer advice without you, offer resources that are human capacity without you actually asking for them. The second reason you should always ask this question is that it gives you a reason to authentically follow up. So if they tell you about a resource and then you check it out, you can then email them later and tell them that you checked it out, you saw that blog, you saw that professional association, and some things that have how it helped you or your takeaways from it. So it's a really great way to build into the questioning an authentic reason to follow up, because when we get to follow up and we talk about that, sometimes it can feel a little awkward to follow up and be like, hey, how's it going, when you don't have anything else to really say. So that's about resources. And then assignments. This is a great way that you can talk about and get some of the most insights from the Q&A session. So a common question would be, which projects are most common or important in your work? And this is the part that you will gain the most usable information, because asking these types of questions can lead you to understand the high value work that's underway right now that they're working on. And it helps you speak the lingo of the industry and can help you answer in an interview or a cover letter the question of, what sort of work could you be doing for us right now? So that assignment part really helps. Getting those insights from them about what they're working on can really help you picture yourself in that role. And if you're speaking with someone that's higher up than what an entry-level role would be, you could ask them what kind of entry-level assignments are going on right now as well. And a good point is that if you're running out of time, you can cut this assignment section and skip to the next steps, just in case you're running out of time. So let's now talk about the last step as next step. So when you're wrapping up the interview, you always want to thank them for their time and for the interview and taking their time out of their day to do this with you. And then if you feel appropriate, ask if they have anyone else ask if they have anyone else that they would be willing to connect you with. And then discuss your next steps. So say specifically, I'm going to check out that resource that you provided for me. Or if they had asked you at some point to send your resume, because sometimes that'll happen, you could say, I'm going to follow up with my resume, and sometimes offer a resume in this kind of next steps wrapping up. Say, I would love to send you my resume. And then lastly, ask the best way to stay connected with them. So is it LinkedIn? Is it email? Maybe they're big on Twitter. So ask the best way to stay connected with them. And then tell them that you'll keep them posted on your job search process and follow up. So some additional tips for doing an informational interview. In his book, The 2-Hour Job Search, Dalton really recommends throughout the entire interview process that you're doing that you really follow their energy. So if they talk about their hobbies, talk about yours. If they sum up their career in 30 seconds and are really short, keep your answers really short as well. Do at least 15 minutes of research before you meet with them. Research the company, look them up on LinkedIn. It's not going to seem creepy. They are going to feel like you're prepared and that you do your research, and it says more about you that you came prepared to an informational interview than if you didn't. And then you can actually have some really good questions to ask the more research you do. But You only need to do about 15 to 20 minutes of research. It doesn't need to be more than that because you can ask some good questions. Write out your questions ahead of time on a notepad. So go prepared with questions, and then take notes by hand. Do not bring your laptop. Do not be on your phone. Be connecting one-on-one with them, and be taking notes, because it shows that you're paying attention and you value what they have to say. If you're meeting in person, dress professionally, and bring a copy of your resume just in case they ask. And the biggest thing is, remember, this is not a job ask. While an informational interview can be a valuable part of the job search, do not ask for a job when conducting one. In order to be effective, it must be clear that you are there to learn information about the career field, their organization, about resources they have to offer, not to ask for a job. Okay, and then after the informational interview, I cannot stress enough how important it is to follow up. They have spent some time with you, and if you have gone through the Tiara method, you've really elevated them from, you have the ability to elevate them from a stranger to a mentor. And a mentor kind of role says that they feel like they've invested some time in you. And so following up is extremely important. Send a thank you note. Send them an email at least saying thank you. If you want to go above and beyond, which I love doing, especially if there's someone of an older generation than you, send them a personal card. I cannot even tell you how many thank you cards I have on my bookshelf from students or parents or whomever that have sent me thank you cards, and I think about them every time I see them. I display them on my bookshelf. So a thank you card is really awesome, and you can easily, by getting their business card, send it, have their address, and send them a thank you note. Connect on social media, so whether that's LinkedIn, as Linda has been saying over and over, send them a LinkedIn message with a personal message. And this should be in addition to sending them an email thank you or a card. It shouldn't be in substitution. You really want to thank them for their time. And also when you do say thank you, tell them what are some of the biggest takeaways that you had. That really makes them feel good about their advice that they've given you. Twitter, you can follow up on Twitter if you both use Twitter for professional or career-related activities. If they have a professional blog, start following their blog, comment on interesting posts. And then over time, share information with them. So no more than about once a month, but if you find an interesting article, you can send it to them and say, hey, I saw this, and this was exactly what we were talking about in the time that we connected. You want to build that relationship over time, so that you're building rapport with them, and when they have some opportunity or someone else has some opportunity, they keep you in mind, and you'll do that by consistent messaging to them. And then lastly, keep them informed of major career or job advancement changes and thank them for the role that they played. So if you had an informational interview and they connected you with someone that ended up hiring you, email them and tell them that you've got that position and thank them for the role that they played in that you couldn't have done it without them. And that will make them feel good about it, and they'll also close the loop that to show how their efforts went into it, and they'll be more likely to help you in the future. So now that you have an understanding of how an informational interview can be so important, let's talk about how you can get informational interviews. So when you say you meet someone, you can meet them on LinkedIn, you could meet them in person, they could be a referral. You want to send out an introduction email, and this is a great, it's a great template for that. So you want to keep your email really short, and I cannot stress that enough. This is just the start of a conversation. You do not need to tell them your whole story. You are going to be having a conversation, and that's what you're requesting in the future. So, and you also, people don't read emails, we know that, and so you want to keep it short and to the point so that they're more likely to respond. First, start out with a greeting, such as, dear, hello, good morning. Can't stress that enough. This is not texting. we still want to have some professional email etiquette. Include some basics and introduce yourself, and highlight relevant strengths, skills, and experiences that help you connect with the professional. Point out the reasons why you are interested in connecting with them and what you would like to learn from them. This way they have an understanding of why you're contacting them. And then your requests. What are you asking them to do? So here you say, may I treat you to coffee or perhaps call you and chat for 20 minutes or so. Informational interviews should be 20 to 30 minutes. They can be longer, but in your request, you don't want to request more than 30 minutes of someone's time. And then thank them in advance. Show appreciation for the time that they're taking out of their day to read your email and to potentially connect with you. And then sign up or sign off with your full email signature. Put your LinkedIn address in there so they can check you out and understand who you are. And you've obviously done a lot of personal branding work with Courtney's help. And then also, you know, it's really great to put in the basics there and your contact information. Make sure, as we talked about before, that your contact information leads to appropriate voicemail messages, that's an appropriate email address, etc. And so this would be a way that you would send out an email to request an informational interview, and then you'd work with them. So maybe they are not in your city. Let's chat over the phone. Maybe they are in person in your same city. Let's meet over coffee or chat on the phone. So have them make those decisions. And some people will even kind of put in here that they'll control the follow-up. And that's a personal preference. So some people say, thank you for your time and consideration of my request. I'll follow up with you in 2 weeks. I know you're busy. I'll follow up with you in 2 weeks to check in. And so you can decide to do that or not. Okay, so now I want to talk about putting your network to work. So you have a network, you're building a network, and we'll talk more about how to build your network. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they don't utilize their network. So when you're in the job search process, which I know you all are, you want to make sure your closest network contacts, such as your family and friends, know that you're in the job search process. And not only do they know you're in the job search process looking for a job, they know specifically what you're looking for. And so you can email your aunt and ask her, hey, you know, I'm looking for, I'm in the job search process. I just recently graduated. I'm looking for work in these fields, in this type of work. Please keep me in mind if you know of anyone, or do you know anyone I should connect with? That is a great way, and that's a very appropriate thing for a very close contact. You can also do this with people that aren't as close, but know that the closest people will be very excited to help you out with that. And then another thing that you can do is write out your contacts, all the contacts that you have, or you can use LinkedIn to track them, and write out how they may be of help. So maybe this person has a lot of contacts, and they might be able to introduce you to people in their field, in your field. They might be able to review your resume. They might be able to give you critical advice. And then ask them for help. So then send out those emails or make those phone calls and ask for help. The job search process, you do not have to do it alone. And that's part of the reasoning for creating these groups, is that you're not alone. Everyone goes through this. And so you can empower your network. And the other thing I would say is that when you are in the job search process and you are talking with your network, it's very, very important to be specific with your network. So what I was saying about telling them what you're looking for and what kind of field you want and what kind of job titles you want, because that empowers your network to help to think critically. Because no one is going to say, oh, this person's looking for a job, I'm going to introduce them to my entire network in the Bay Area. No one's going to do that. So the more specific you are, the better return you're going to get out of your network. Okay, and then let's discuss now growing your network. So, like I said, ask your network to introduce you to people. And and follow up with them. And when someone does introduce you, make sure you follow up, because that can, if you don't follow up with a person that someone introduces you to, you can lose that network contact because they might not introduce you to other people again if you're not following up. You can attend networking events and career fairs. Linda has a lot of networking events up in Portland. There's a lot of networking events that James is going to be talking about more. So that's a great way to meet people and grow your network. And when you do meet people in a networking situation, you can ask for those informational interviews, ask for those coffee chats if you don't have a chance to talk to them in full detail at the event. You could join professional associations and attend professional conferences and workshops in your desired field. This is also a really great way to meet good quality contacts. And lastly, you can tap into the UO Alumni Network in person, which James is going to go over, or on LinkedIn. So James is going to go over all of the great benefits for tapping into U of O alumni and fellow Ducks. And then my last bit of advice that I want to leave you with is actually my favorite quote by Maya Angelou. And she says, "I've learned that people will forget what you've said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I think this is really the center of authentic networking, is that by you asking meaningful questions and really showing people that you are curious about what they do, this is how you are going to be unforgettable, is because you've made them feel like an expert, you've made them feel like they have opinions and advice to share, and they will think so fondly of you. It doesn't matter if you mistype something. In general, if you can make them feel really great, then they'll remember you. So I'm going to now switch over to stop sharing that, and there I am again. And I'm going to switch over to James now. And let's see, we've been having a little bit of PowerPoint issues, so we'll hopefully get this all squared away. And James is going to talk about the UO Alumni Association. Take it away, James.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And just as I'm getting warmed up, Sarah, please let me know if I am difficult to hear or if you're not able to see what I'm trying to show.
You're great.
Great, thank you. As Sarah mentioned, we had the best of plans that worked up until about 30 minutes before this presentation, and then now we're having to punt. But as I get started, as Sarah mentioned, I'm James Chang. I'm director of the Duck Career Network here on campus at the U of O Alumni Association, and I'm speaking to you from the Ford Alumni Center. It's great to have a chance to talk with you all. I was just looking at the calendar and realized that spring graduation was just 1 month away. Whether you can believe that or not. Again, congratulations on a job well done, on a huge accomplishment. And during the last 4 weeks or so, hopefully you had a chance to relax, recuperate. But obviously for those of you who have joined this job search group, it means that you're fully committed to the job search process, and we're thrilled to be able to be a part of the process and hopefully help you along the way. So as Sarah mentioned, I initially had a few PowerPoint slides that I intended to share with you. At this point, I think I'm just going to try to show you some web pages. And so bear with me for a moment. Sarah, can you confirm that you can see the Alumni Association website?
Yes, I can. Now
Wonderful.
I can.
Okay, great. So as Sarah mentioned, in the next 10-15 minutes or so, my goal is to help you think about the network that is at your fingertips in many ways. Sarah already shared that your network can start. You can start growing your network with something as simple as a hello to someone pretty much anywhere, anytime. And so on the one hand, that can be very empowering, but a very realistic question can also be, where do you start? And when it comes to starting, the first of the two places I will point you to is the Alumni Association. What I have just shown you, where I am showing you right now, is the UO Alumni Association website. The address is uoalumni.com. and it will get you to this front page. The reason I want to point out the Alumni Association is that we exist to help Ducks stay connected, to stay connected with each other, to stay connected with the University of Oregon. If you love the U of O, as I know all of you do, once you graduate, it can be fairly quick that you start feeling disconnected. So know that by plugging into the Alumni Association, our goal is to keep you posted on what's happening, the great success that our students and faculty are achieving, but also to help you connect with that network of alumni that Sarah has already mentioned. So let me show you at least a couple of specific sections of the Alumni Association page that I wanted you to know about. In this yellow tab across the top, if you move your cursor over alumni groups, you'll see a number of ways we've divvied up various alumni groups, but the one I wanted to show you specifically today is chapters. Right now, we have over 20 Alumni Association chapters spread all over the country. So whether you are on the West Coast or further afield, there's a good chance that you are going to be in the company of Ducks. And when you think about networking, I always encourage you to think about networking in the company of Ducks as a safer environment. And especially as a recent grad, simply saying, "Hi, my name is James. I just graduated from the U of O," you will see people light up. They're going to be so excited for you. They're going to be willing to help. And in many ways, it's also because they remember what it was like when they just finished school. So don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel more nervous than you have to be. Most people, when they graduate from college, they're still trying to get their legs under them. And so this is the perfect time. Actually, the closer to graduation it is, it is a better time to start putting yourself out there and soaking in all of the enthusiasm, the interest, and also the goodwill that you'll find from other folks, from other college graduates, particularly at the U of O. In terms of how do you connect, eventually I'm going to show you a couple of chapter web pages, but earlier today, I took a quick look at the past events that our alumni chapters have organized over the last several months. They include Portland Science Nights, where faculty come to Portland and deliver a presentation about an area of their expertise. The Chicago Ducks just had their happy hour. The Denver Ducks held their Jazz in the Park event. Seattle Ducks had a night with the Mariners. The Desert Ducks organized a golf scramble. There were U of O art talks where art faculty talked about the creative arts. Alaska Ducks did a city cleanup. San Francisco did their Ducks Night at the San Francisco Food Bank. So as you can see, no matter where you are in the country, the Duck chapters, the Duck Alumni Association chapters, are organized by motivated, engaged alumni, and they could be your front line of how do you start meeting people. So I'm going to go back to this website, and for example, if you happen to be in the Bay Area, you can either move your mouse over the state of California, and you can see a variety of the chapters that are in the area, or you can go directly to the Bay Area Ducks page. On this page, you'll notice a couple of things. One is you'll be able to see the alumni who have stepped up to a leadership role with the Bay Area Ducks. If their name is underlined and hyperlinked, you'll be able to send them a message directly. A tip is, instead of just copying the same message to all 7 or 8 people, guess what? They talk to each other. And while they want to help you as a recent grad, if they realize that you are sending 8 or 9 people the same message, or if you just blind carbon copy all of them, you're basically saying you're not giving them the individual time and attention that they deserve. In essence, you're saying, I'm going to take the easy way out. That is not the impression you want to give people. So as you see that the names are here, I would encourage you to hop on LinkedIn, just do a quick search, see if you can learn a little bit more about their profile, and versus sending all 8 or 9 people a message right away, you might choose the 2 or 3 who graduated from the same academic program as you, the 2 or 3 who work in an area that is of highest interest to you. Write them that brief but personal and specific email that lets them know you care, and hopefully that will increase their likelihood to reply to you. So with each of the chapters, here's at least a short list of the people that you can reach out to. Off to the right, you'll also see a shortcut to some of the events that focus specifically on the area. If you go to the top of the page, you'll notice that the Alumni Association has a specific events calendar, so you can see activity that's going on all over the country. I particularly think this can be helpful because even though you may have gone home to Seattle, let's say over the course of the next month or two of the summer, you're going to a family reunion in Denver. You're going to go with your family to visit your big brother, big sister in New York. What you may want to do is take a look at if there's a chapter in that region and preemptively see if they have an activity or an event that you can join. If there is, fantastic. If not, no big deal. On the other hand, you can also see who the officers are of those chapters, and 2 or 3 or 4 weeks before you arrive, sending them a message to say, I will be visiting town for a week. I would love to meet you for a cup of coffee. I am exploring careers and job opportunities all over the region, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your insight of the major industries, the major job functions that makes your city work. These may be reasons for them to gladly meet with you, and even though you're in the midst of fun family vacation, you can also be taking a step towards your future career success. The last point I want to make on the chapters is that on each of these pages, you will see their social media links. These are an additional way for you to stay connected. If you're in Portland, but you know you want to move to the Orange County or Los Angeles area, go to the Facebook pages of those chapters. Sign up to follow the tweets of those areas, and this way it'll keep you in the know. In addition, you can see who is making those posts. Where are they having those activities? And when you see things that are of interest, reach out to those organizing individuals, and once again, authentically, genuinely, you will be able to make connections with people that you specifically care about. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the chapter structure within the Alumni Association. The program that I specifically oversee is called the Duck Career Network, and in the upper yellow bar again, if you move your cursor over the connect word, you'll see that Duck Career Network shows up. Click on that link, and that will take you to my page in particular. And this also summarizes the career-related events off to the right. I will point out that while our website is mobile friendly, I tend to recommend people use the desktop version just because you're able to see most everything. Once you start shrinking the screen to tablet or even smartphone view, some of the columns disappear, so it can be a little bit confusing. What I want to point out here specifically is if you scroll to the middle part of the page, excuse me, you can see that we've organized the website in a couple of different areas, but the one I wanted to emphasize is the Alumni Insight and Advice section. There's also a shortcut on the side. As you are exploring career paths, as you're trying to find contacts, under Alumni Insight and Advice, you will notice that we have a collection of career profiles as well as career blogs for you to see. With career profiles, these are individuals that we have interviewed to share a nugget of their career journey, what they have learned, in this case, looking at Dr. Allen, what it was like to be to have a full career in medicine. With Jen Yaris, we learn about her work in social justice. With Chris, forgetting his full name, but with Chris, I think it's Sullivan, learning about work in the Chicago area. So before you even have to do an information interview, you can learn the background of some very interesting and accomplished ducks. And if you like, if you wanted to reach out to these people individually, what more of an ego stroke can you give them than to say, I read your career profile, it really piqued my interest, and I would love to learn more. So that's how you can use these career profiles. If you go back to the Insight and Advice page, you can also take a look at the Alumni Career Blog section. This is where we have requested contributions in the voice of alumni for them to share insight and advice about whatever they have to offer. Our current contributors include Terry Sitterman, who is an executive coach and works with CEOs, Humberto Chacon, who has had a full career in human resources, talent management, recruiting in the Silicon Valley area, and you will see that Humberto in particular has been really dedicated to share monthly blogs to give you insight among anything from emotional intelligence to networking to overcoming mental barriers. So I hope you can see that there is a community of ducks who want to help other ducks, and especially as a recent graduate, you are you are definitely one of the alumni that people would love to support however they can. And it goes back to what Sarah mentioned earlier. The more research you do, the more focused you can be as you engage these alumni, the easier it is for them to direct you, to help you, to refer you to other people. Okay, so at this point, let me switch over to LinkedIn because there's a treasure trove of information in LinkedIn, and I want you to look at it as a tool, but also as a resource that you can data mine. Sarah, can you just confirm that you can see my LinkedIn page right now? And Sarah, you might be muted.
I can confirm that I can see your page. It's Linda.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
Sure.
Great, thank you. So you can see that, for those of you who have used LinkedIn, what you are seeing is the page I arrive on when I first log into LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there are two specific sections I want to show you today, and these will help you learn who U of O alumni are and also eventually how you can connect with them fairly easily. The first resource I want to point out is the U of O education page within LinkedIn. What you can do is two ways. One is under interests, go under education. That will help you find the education page. Another shortcut, which I will not use because I can let you use it later on, is if you go under connections and find alumni, since most of you are newly minted U of O grads, U of O will be the first school that pops up for you. For me, it doesn't pop up automatically, so I'm going to go under interests, education. So many universities will have their own page, and for me, this is where I can easily find U of O. Of course, I could also have typed in University of Oregon in the search menu, but I wanted you to be able to see this. At this point, I want to emphasize that this is where there is a treasure trove of data within LinkedIn. As I scroll down right below our main picture, you can see that it's showing you front and center some very valuable information. There is currently over 92,000 U of O alumni who are on LinkedIn. Once you create your LinkedIn profile and identify University of Oregon as one of the schools you attended, your data is aggregated into this particular page. And let me show you how powerful this can be. If you click on this header, Explore Careers, it will fill the page, and you can see that on this particular page, it organizes the alumni via what they do, what they studied, what they're skilled at. If you page to the right, you'll see where they live, where they work, and how you might personally be connected to them. So for now, because this is too small of a view, I'm going to click on Show More so you can see a little bit more. And a way to look at this is, of the 92,000 of our 190,000 living alumni, about 86,000 live in the U.S. that means that about 5,000 to 6,000 of the alums on LinkedIn actually are outside of the country, so that's interesting. Then you can see that Portland is where we have the largest concentration of alums in general, but definitely on LinkedIn, so about 26,000 alums of the 92,000 alums here. So you can see a quick sense. You can see we have a huge number of alums at Nike, all the way down to much smaller organizations. Let me show you how you can start filtering and sorting who is out there. For example, if you're interested in moving to the Bay Area, you can click on San Francisco and the 92,000 shrinks to the 7,700 alums in the Bay Area. Let's now say that you're trying to figure out who studied what you did. So let's page back to the first page. And for example, let's say you were a psychology major, and so of the 7,700 alums, 500 identified psychology as their major. You can now click on that, and the 7,000 gets filtered down to the 500. And in terms of what they're skilled at, most of you know that people can just list skills that others can either validate, or you can simply have listing on yourself. Let's say you yourself are interested in event planning, and so of the 516, there are 56 alums who are involved in event planning. If you click on that, then the 500 sums shrinks down to, at this point, about 70 so. So you can see how it's narrowing down the alums who match your interest. At this point, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you can see who these individuals are. In this case, I actually am connected to a handful of them, and so I could send them a message. There's other individuals who I don't have a connection with, and you could send a connection request out to them, but I actually think that you can be more authentic by doing a little bit more work and just getting into their regular inbox. For example, if you were interested in reaching out to the Scott Morgan, who's Director of Business Development at SME Displays, I believe you can Google SME Displays and choose San Francisco, and this way you can find, if not the general phone number for the company, then perhaps an email. The phone number is better because if you can call, and maybe you're not ready to talk to Scott yet, but you can call and ask for Scott's email address. In some cases, they may not be willing to give you that information, but you might even be able to ask a question like, is Scott's email address scott.morgan@smedisplays.com? Anyway, these are some guerrilla tactics for you to reach out to some alums, because once you do, then you can follow the strategy that Sarah mentioned and send a message that will inspire them to connect with you. I know I'm running out of time, so the one final thing I want to do is, beyond showing you the U of O LinkedIn page, I want you to see the U of O LinkedIn group. There are many groups on LinkedIn, but there is one official U of O LinkedIn group page, and you can find it from our main U of O educational page. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see that under featured groups, U of O, this group has 15,500 members, and this is a group where you can post questions, ask for advice, but I also want to point out that you can find alumni here. If you click on About under the sub heading, this allows you to see this tab that you didn't see earlier, which is Members. And when you click on Members, you will find that in addition to seeing that there's 19,500 alumni, you can start doing searches that will filter down the alumni of your choice. So let's put in Seattle and then psychology and see what happens. The 19,000 now should shrink down to 139. So these are alums who somewhere in their profile have Seattle and psychology. And the main reason I want to show this to you is for those individuals you do not know, and I'm going to actually, you can see on some of these pages, actually on most of these pages, the ones who I am not connected to, LinkedIn normally would not allow me to send them a message directly, except now, because we're in the same group, if I wanted to reach out to Emily Kirsten and ask her for that information interview, I can choose the send message field and send a message that she will receive via the email that's associated with her LinkedIn profile. I know I've gone pretty quickly, but I also know that you can go back to watch the recording of this video to catch up on anything that you didn't learn the first time. I know I went very quickly, but I hope you know that there is a treasure trove of resources on LinkedIn. You have a community of ducks that you can access through the U of O Alumni Association. And my final point is for those of you who just graduated and purchased the graduation package of cap and gown, that includes a one-year membership in the U of O Alumni Association. So this is your year to test us out, learn what we're all about. Hopefully you'll realize we can be a great tool to help you stay connected with the U of O so that in the coming years you remain a member. The last thing I want to mention is as a recent grad within the first 4 years of school, your membership rates are drastically discounted. So check out those membership rates because in some ways, especially with a life membership, it's half off. You're not going to get a deal as good as that ever again. So with that, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I wish you much success. Congratulations on graduation and becoming a Duck alumni for life. And with that, let me pass this back to Sarah to close out our session today.
Great. Thank you so much, James. That was very helpful. And so I hope that if there's any questions following up on networking, please feel free to post those in the LinkedIn group. And also, if you are watching the Q&A later and not during the Q&A one time, I'm going to be posting a discussion in the LinkedIn group about how to opt in to receive your professional email. So Linda and I are following up with those emails shortly to introduce you to your professional. And again, in this email that's going to say, we're connecting with you and we're expecting you to email them that interview results formally. Do you have any more questions or comments?
No, I think that sounds great.
Yay, real talk.
Yay, real talk.
I don't know why.
Okay, well have a great day, and we look forward to chatting with you on Real Talk, hearing about the connections that you make with the professionals that we connect you with.
And then just one more thing, just to let you know, we are doing interviewing on Tuesday, and so I'll be going through a lot of those strategies on Tuesday, and we have a guest speaker who's a 2011 grad, who is currently a recruiter at Nike. She's also been a recruiter at a medical clinic and then a general staffing firm. So hopefully she'll have a really unique perspective to share with all of you on interviewing for your different jobs that you're interested in.
Perfect. Thank you, Linda. We look forward to it.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,